Welcome back to another episode of What Are You Made Of with your boy, the unstoppable Mike C-Roc. I'm in the house today with a friend of mine and an associate from Project 10K, Tom Matzen. Listen, guys, you're going to want to hear Tom's story. You're going to want to know about this guy, what he's into. I'm excited to have him on here today. And we've had some conversations in the past about some things. And great fella, besides what he knows and what he's done. And I'm excited to share him with you today. Authority entrepreneurs hire Tom to build 7- and 8-figure enterprises by helping them package their wisdom and knowledge and build a global movement in the process. Tom has started some, how many? 91 businesses of his own. I'm laughing about that because Tom, I'm going to break off this bio for a second.
That usually stops people in their tracks, Mike. I totally understand it.
Yeah. I mean, I have 5 or 6 businesses right now and people are like, how do you do that? And I'm like, it's just, I got control of my time, but 91, I know not 91 all at once, but 91 is a lot. So
it's a lot. Although I will tell you, one of my hero mentors is a guy called Aaron Young, and he runs a dozen or so simultaneously, half an hour a week per business.
Yeah. If you set it up right, then you can do that. Right.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, most of us don't. And that's why, in part, it was 91, because if I'd done it right in the beginning, I wouldn't have needed 91.
Well, I guess, unless you just like to do that and that's what you like to do. Well, look, guys, the bio will be in the show notes, so you can check that out. I just want to get into this conversation with Tom because these businesses, they've been 8 to 7 figures, 7 to 8 figures, I think you mean there, but, nice size companies, but most people don't ever achieve because they try once or twice and they fail and they quit. And he also coaches people. They've generated over, $100 million in sales in dozens of industries. He's working on something now called Golf Links, which is, a little coffee shop with virtual golf in them. Like, that anybody that knows me knows I love golf. So anybody can see why I love Tom. But Tom, let's start the show the right way. What are you made of?
Well, I love that question. And I love the fact that you designed your whole show around it, because a lot of times we don't take time to think about it, right? For me, I had the good fortune of having an early mentor basically kick my butt. It was kind of like a Jared, but years ago. We both know Jared Yellen, and Jared's one of these guys where you either get inspired by him or you run for the hills. Like, there's no middle ground with Jared, right? Yeah. Right. And so this guy was Vic Lindell, and he was the keynote speaker at an event. And I remember I was in the front row, 1,000 people in the room. I come early. I'm in the front row. This older gentleman with silver hair sits down beside me. I wasn't there for Vic. I was there for the head of California Closets, talking about how he built this $100 million company. I didn't know who Vic was. This guy sits down beside me, starts chit-chatting away, asking questions. And turns out it's Vic Lindell, one of the other speakers on the stage. And I learned from him, among other things, he did that for every talk. He would go out and get to know people. And basically he asked exactly that. What are you made of? To each and every person he met. And then he would weave their answers into his talk. C-Roc. It was just awesome. The guy was a master. And he said, well, with your background, you should be spreading the word. I mean, you've got a calling, you got a mission. I go, yeah. But I'm going to do that later. First, I'm going to make, the good money. And then I'm going to do that later. He goes, what a bunch of crap that is. You need to get off your butt now. You need to be sharing your message now. Forget later. What do you mean later? You've already earned the right. Let's go. I'll introduce you to this guy, the Association of Collegiate Entrepreneurs. We'll get you your first gig. Let's go. And a week later, he had me booked as a speaker at their event. I became an advisor, and it launched what now is over 1,000 live presentations where I did get off my butt and start sharing it. So for me, Vic forced me to answer that question early. And I actually came up with a way to present it, because my early talks were just that. It was literally, what are we as entrepreneurs made of? What were the secrets of entrepreneurship? And it came down to 3 things: attitude, communications, and enthusiasm. And I would literally have an ace of card, the ace of the deck, card deck, the aces. I would have all 4 aces tucked into my suit. And I would call a volunteer out from the room, and I would ask them a series of questions that guided them to pick an ace of one particular suit. Didn't matter what they came to, because I would say, oh, ace of diamonds, look. And I'd reach in and there'd be one card. I'd pull it out, and it was the ace of diamonds. And the room would go nuts. Oh my God, he's amazing. And then I would tell him, of course, now, if you'd said ace of hearts, I'd pull out of this pocket. Oh, and if you said ace of clubs, I'd pull out of my pants pocket.
Oh, you showed him that part?
I showed him that part on purpose.
Yeah.
Because a good entrepreneur plans for every outcome. I call that a good attitude. A good attitude is a good attitude when times are good, a good attitude when times suck. right? I mean, now
Oh,
there's
man.
all this talk about recession. The good entrepreneurs are like, how do I profit from it?
Uh-huh.
How do I profit from it? Not how do I survive it? Not how do I hang on? Not how do I minimize the damage, right? But how do I profit from it? And in recessions, and I'm old enough, I've been around a few recessions, some big ones, not the one from 1930s. Thank you for thinking that, C-Roc, not that long, but pretty close. And there was a quote I remember from Rothschilds, the famous Rothschild family, billion, massive global fortune. And his quote was, Baron Rothschild quote was, "A fortune is made when blood is running in the streets."
Mm-hmm.
And I remember looking up the quote because I'm one of these guys that I want to quote the actual source, not like quote someone quoting someone. And so I remember looking it up, and that's not the full quote. Have you heard that quote before, by the way?
Yeah, but not the whole one. Yeah, let's
Yeah. So the whole quote goes, "A fortune is made when blood is running in the streets, comma, even if it's your own."
Wow. Yeah.
So that tests the attitude.
Why would they not include that?
Well, it just, popularizations in the social
Jeez.
media world, 10-second videos, blah, blah, blah. People just shorten it, but it's so important.
Uh-huh.
It's so important because the message is for everyone listening right now, in whatever field you're in, right? There's chaos. Whether there's a recession or not, one can debate it, but 2/4 of negative economic growth. I grew up, that was the definition of a recession. So whether it is or it isn't, doesn't matter because that's the global. For you as an entrepreneur, how are you going to profit from it? Right? Like the golf cafes you were talking about. Golf and coffee go up in a recession because they're small indulgences. But golf at country clubs goes down, right? So the high end of that market goes down. You're not traveling to Costa Rica to visit a coffee plantation, but you might buy a really nice Costa Rican bean at the local Starbucks. Yeah. And that's your little treat. So in a recession, certain products and services always go up and always have gone up. And so you can, like in our case, this business was planned for the next big recession on purpose. But some businesses, you're already there and maybe you're not recession proof. Maybe you are vulnerable to a recession. So then you need to look at your business model and say, okay, what can I change? What can I pivot? What can I do to add value to my clients so that my market share goes up, not down during that? And I call that overall attitude. The entrepreneur's attitude is, how do we make it work? And I've seen this with you on all the calls we're on with Project 10K, right? Your whole attitude is, how do you make it work? Not does it. Right? There's no does it in your language. It's all how. Like, what's the path? That didn't work. Try again. That didn't work. Let's try again. It's not about like, oh my gosh, it'll never work. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, but 100%. Does doubt ever come into your head like on a golf links? Does doubt come into your head? And how do you handle doubt if it does creep in?
Yeah. If it doesn't, you're a fool. I mean, to me, if there's not doubt, you're a fool. You need to plan for the uncertainty. You need to plan for those situations, and you need to communicate that when you're talking. And that's the other part, the C of ACE is communication. Communication isn't about Pollyanna, everything's perfect. Communication is, here's our plan and here's our backup plan and here's what we're doing to ensure that happens. So you build in redundancy to your model. I call that whole process anuragging your business. I had the pleasure of meeting this crazy business coach, Anurag Gupta, years ago, who, check this out, C-Roc, he takes businesses from 10 million to $1 billion and has a 100% success rate. 10 million to $1 billion.
You know what I say to that though, Tom?
What?
He didn't take enough swings or at bats.
No, here's the catch. Here's the catch. The catch is, if you don't follow his advice, he fires you.
Yeah.
So not 100% of his clients that start get to the finish line, but one of them is Lululemon, the women's yoga clothing store chain. He was Chip Wilson's personal coach from store one to $1 billion in sales. And he taught me this methodology of setting goals, which is, okay, like you're saying, what if doubt creeps in? Here's what you do to prevent it. Right? You take your goal, whatever your goal is. Let's say to a listener tuning in today, they say, I want to make $1 million in the next 12 months. Okay. So the first thing Anurag would say is double the goal to 2 million. First step. Always shoot for more. Mm-hmm. Then create 3 different ways to get to the 2 million. 3 completely separate strategies, not 5, not 12, like some new entrepreneurs do, but 3.
Okay.
Not 1 either, because then all your eggs are in one basket. 3 strategies, each capable of 2 million, and execute all 3 of those strategies. So now what are you doing? Well, you're playing for 2 plus 2 plus 2. Even the math challenges out there can do that math.
6.
That's 6
now
million.
you're 6x. Yeah.
Right? You're playing for 6. And when I share this strategy in a big room of entrepreneurs, I'll say, how many of you failed to reach your last big goal? And most hands go up if they're honest. And they say, okay, I want you to think about what percentage of the way you got. What percentage did you get? 0%, 10%, 20%? How close did you get? And almost everyone in the room got 20% or more of their goal. Some didn't, but most did. Well, if you're playing for 6 times your goal, you'll get your goal then.
Yeah, because that's 1.2 million rather than 1.
Yeah, well, no, 6 in this case, 1 million.
20%.
You get 18% of the way of 6 million. You're there.
Yeah. Because 20% of 6 million is 1.2.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. You got
it. So let me ask you this. Let me run through this with you. So I started a podcast agency called People Building Podcast Agency. And my goal was to get to 100 clients, because 50 would be, if I get to 50 clients, that was the original number. I doubled it to 100. This is stuff that I already did. So I'm just kind of relating it.
Yep.
And then I thought, okay, I can do this with all my power base and my network, right? That I can get 50. No doubt about it. The second thing was, okay, well, let me do that. And then I added white labeling for people that have agencies that don't have a podcast wing.
Yep.
So that I can get to 50 that way, or 100 that way as well.
Yep.
Because 50 is the original. And then the third one is those people, my power base network. And then now we also have a campaign we're going to be going through with LinkedIn, social media, and really hammering that way with our VAs and technology.
So like a direct outreach, leveraging social media.
Reach out to people with that I don't necessarily know, but may know me. Right. So that's 3 ways. So I'm just thinking about what you just said, and I'm like, holy cow, I performed this.
Yes. Now, and if you do that and you take each of them, the trick is you got to take each of those strategies seriously. Yep. And treat them as full on. Your whole business depends on that strategy. Your whole business depends on that strategy, and your whole business depends on that strategy. That's work. Like, I'm not pretending it's easy to do that, but if you can do that, you build enough redundancy in that every goal you crush.
Yeah. And the fact of the matter is, now I'm impatient as hell, by the way. So, one of my friends, the founder of UGG Boots, Brian Smith, told me you cannot birth an adult. So C-Roc, you can't, tadpoles need to be tadpoles for the frogs. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. And he told me he only sold 29 pairs of UGG boots the first year in business.
Wow.
And I said, that's because you only sold 29 UGG boots the first year. That's why you say that. I can move faster, Brian. No, so I'm always thinking like, but I think that's a quality, as long as you don't let it start to affect you, the impatience.
Yes. Well, and that relates to the third part of the formula, ACE, attitude, communication, is how you communicate both internally and externally. The word today they love is stakeholders, but basically everyone that matters, right? Everyone that matters, you got to communicate. You got to talk about, you got to be transparent. You got to be real. You got to be genuine, but you also got to be the leader. You're leading the organization, right, to that goal. The last one is is enthusiasm. And that relates to, what do you do on those ups and downs? Because I've come to the conclusion with 91 businesses, I may not be an expert on most things, but I am an expert on starting and scaling businesses. I've done that more than just about any person I've ever met for myself, let alone the thousands of people I've helped on it. I'm talking about myself as well. And the one thing I've learned is you're going to have ups and you're going to have downs. It's part of the journey. You're going to have ups, you're going to have downs. So now my goal isn't to eliminate the downs. My goal is to shorten the down cycle and bounce back faster, right?
Yep.
That's the real world of an entrepreneur. And that's what separates a good employee from a good entrepreneur. A good employee does not want any downs. Plus, as an employee, if you have a down, that usually means you're fired, right? It's like, you caused this down, you're gone. Like, you're expendable to that company. So you want to make yourself as precious as possible to that organization. So great employees often have a terrible time adjusting to being an entrepreneur because they're the center of their contribution. And when they go be an entrepreneur, they start the business the same way. They're the center of their business. Everything flows through them. All decisions, all sales, all customer support,
Then
all
they're still an
objections.
employee.
Pardon me?
They're still an employee at that point then.
Well, exactly. Except
Figuratively.
worse. They're
Yeah,
an employee
figuratively.
with economic risk.
Yep.
Now they've got the worst of both worlds going for
Mhm.
them, right? And so unlearning that, I mean, that's fine for your first million in sales. For most businesses, you can do that. But to go from 1 to 10 or beyond 10, you have to get out of your way, right? In the tech world, they call it founder syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the reason why Project 10K has so much appeal, right? Start, build, scale, exit.
Yep.
Not start, build, scale, sit around for 20 years, talk about it, and then maybe consider possibly exiting, right? That's not his model.
Yep.
That's not what we bought into. We bought into start, build, scale, exit,
Yep.
right? I mean, even today, we're going through the list here. Stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, exit. I'm like, whoa, that was quick. Even I was shocked. I was reading through that. I was going, oh, that's it. Okay, good. I like it. Because I will tell you, most of those businesses, I did not build to sell.
Yeah.
I built to have forever. And that's not the real world.
No, nothing lasts forever.
No. And not only that, who wants it to last forever? You're right. I love starting new businesses. I love that early stage of figuring stuff out. And I get enthusiastic about it. I for years, it was the world's first this, the world's first that, the world's first this. We were launching, focusing on those early adopters, focusing on those people that are ahead of the curve and quite happy to be ahead of the curve, and ignoring the other 87% of the market that will never touch a new thing. Right. So,
and also when the down cycles, it's being able to suffer well. And if you can maintain your enthusiasm, not just enthusiasm, but exhilaration when the down times, you've won.
Embrace it.
You've
Embrace
won.
it. Right.
Think about it. Like, give you an example. I've done this many times with the mortgage business, right? And then we're going through it again. And it feels like the end of the world sometimes. And then you like to snap out of it. This is the best I've ever felt in a situation that I'm in, where we had to shrink. We had to lean up in our business and batten down the hatches to weather the storm. But I'm sometimes I go through this thing. It's crazy. It's like and I'm just being transparent with you in the audience right here.
Yeah.
As I go through, I'm like, why do I feel so good right now? Like I should be miserable and depressed, but I don't. I feel great. And you know what the difference is, Tom? The difference is that now I've done this before. One, number two, I've created other opportunities and flows for the future. And my eyes are not on what's going on right now. My eyes are on the future, and it's so bright. I need shades.
You still have momentum.
Yeah.
You still have momentum. Because of that, you still have momentum. So for those of you that are tuning in, if you got a business that's going to suffer massively from the chaos that's going on right now, you still have to come up with a plan like C-Roc has to create momentum, right? It may be other revenue streams, other ventures, right? It may be strategic alliances. It may be pre-planning the cuts. I saw, what was it? There was a tech company. What's the tech company that does all the graphics cards? Not Intel, NVIDIA. They just announced their quarterly report and they forecast really dismally the next 6 months. And they're the number one graphic card people on the planet. Like, my son's 15 years old. So, crypto, gaming, like NVIDIA is like NVIDIA. Everyone bows to them, the graphic cards. They're the top of the pile. And they forecast this massive downturn and announced a bunch of cuts to their overall operating. But they also projected higher sales.
Wow.
Like I was sitting there going, these guys understand the game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They're sitting there. It doesn't matter what's going on outside. We're still going to have a better year. And they're big and huge economies of scale, but that causes its own problems because they get all the bureaucracy that goes with that. Well, we can learn from that as entrepreneurs. We can look and say, okay, what can we do in our business to make sure we come out ahead on the other side?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Totally makes sense.
So financially speaking, being involved in 91 businesses, have you been in the past, or are you now, or recently, whenever, at some point in time, in a position where you could have just let off the gas pedal, lived off the money you made from 91 businesses,
couple of times,
and
but
been good, and decided to go back in and dip your toe?
Yeah, a couple of times I was there, but one thing, I was really good at making it. I wasn't really good at keeping it
or multiplying it.
Yeah, multiplying it silently.
Mm-hmm.
So I was good at earned income and I became good at residual income. I was never good in the past at passive income. Mm-hmm. 3 different types of income, right?
Yep.
Earned, residual, and passive. And so my shift in the last 10 years has been to shift from focusing all my efforts on earned income to building residual and passive income.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
It's just a much funner game, and it'll allow me to do more work with our nonprofit, which is doing some really cool projects in Bangladesh, helping entrepreneurs grow and thrive. And it's why we're in Project 10K. It's not my primary business I'm doing. It's a new venture I'm doing with an Australian partner, helping Bangladeshi entrepreneurs build and thrive and support their families by helping developing country entrepreneurs get more leads. So, I'm combining my passion.
What's the name of that, by the way?
Ashana, ASH, Ashana, which in Bengali means hopes and dreams. So it's kind of cool. And the whole goal of that project is to create this lead generation machine. So if you're a business coach or a financial advisor or a real estate agent, you come to us and we'll have this entire system to create leads for you and guarantee results.
And that's going to start in Bangladesh, but is that something that'll eventually make it to the US?
Well, the Bangladesh operators are going to do the work for us in the North American market.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So instead of paying 100 cents on the dollar, you're going to pay 20, 30, 40 cents on the dollar and get the 100 cent on the dollar caliber work, but linked to results. The key thing, and we're teaching them this and we're building it into our model. I believe all entrepreneurs should guarantee results. I don't think we should be doing business if we can't guarantee results. If we're not good enough to guarantee results, stop doing it. Mm-hmm. And that can be as simple as, I have a restaurant, I guarantee you enjoy the meal, or you don't pay. Like, it doesn't have to be complicated sometimes.
Yeah.
But there should be, I believe, some sort of guarantee on everything that we do. And in the marketing lead acquisition world, the vast majority of people, because the agency space, the vast majority of people want money regardless of results.
Yeah, but I think the problem with that is subjectiveness.
Not if your results are measurable.
Yeah, but when you're talking about the restaurant business, like if you're not satisfied with a meal, that kind of thing. But if there's indicators.
Wow, when I was a manager at McDonald's, if they weren't happy, we either gave them their money back or a voucher for another meal.
Oh, yeah. No. But I think overall,
and that's pretty low bar of food.
Yeah, I think overall in business though, it's that subjectivity that they can't put it across the board. I agree with you 100%. If somebody doesn't want, like, anything I do, they're not happy, I'd rather get rid of the problem. Pay to get rid of the problem. It's better, it's cheaper. But subjectivity, and also if you're coaching or doing something for someone, and if they're not pulling their weight, but then they blame you, you just don't. I think that's
that opens up a whole nother discussion, because for the last 10 years, as you may remember, I helped entrepreneurs launch high ticket programs and bring them to the world. And they would say to me, well, I can't guarantee results. I'm coaching someone. What if they don't listen? And what I've learned, and I would teach them, and I would share to your listeners the same thing, you can build skills, accountability, and mentorship into your coaching.
Yeah.
So that your clients always get results. Now, does that mean every client will get results? No. But I said, so they can get results. So we teach where you charge a quarter up front and the rest of your payments are linked to results. You don't give that quarter back. That 25% up front, you don't refund that. That's their skin in the game. They need that or they're not going to commit. But the other 75% is linked to the payments that you set out, whatever your deal is. They only pay it if they get that results. And then you create a win-win. Guess what happens to the amount of referrals you get? Guess what happens to the amount of raving fans you create in the marketplace? Because the more I do business, the more I look at it, we're not in the happy client business. I think that's a big myth. We're in the raving fans business.
Yep.
Right? Way beyond happy clients.
There goes the enthusiasm thing again.
Yes. 100% ties it right back in, because if they're that crazy enthusiastic about you, three things about a raving fan, I can tell you. Number one, they're more loyal when you mess up. At the pace at which I go, I mess up all the time. I have a feeling you're the same, because you're a ready, fire, aim guy just like me.
Yeah,
right?
but I don't mess up, Tom. I don't mess up.
Well, lucky you. Lucky you. I do a lot. I do a lot. Just ask my first wife. She'll tell you.
So, Tom, as we wind this down here, I want to talk to you about courses, because you talked to me when we were talking about Blueprinted and we were going through it and I was demoing it for you and all that. And you were not so hot on course platforms or courses in general. And part of it had to do with, there's some requirements for courses to be completed in the first place, and they're missing. So can you
Yes.
talk about what you said so that the audience can hear about that? And then
And full disclosure, I've invested over $1 million in courses, seminars, workshops, masterclasses, retreats, high-end masterminds, over $1 million of my own money. And I love it. I love it. So I'm not opposed to the learning world. I love it. It's the way why I become what I become. And it changes the world if you invest in yourself. The best investment you can make is investing in yourself. So I want to preface that with all of that. The challenge is our industry sells a course and thinks that's the solution to the problem. And Tony Robbins once shared some data with me that, remember, these are Tony's people. These are people who literally will walk on fire. Okay, they're fairly motivated individuals. If anyone listening has ever been to a Tony Robbins event, online or in person, it's crazy the amount of energy in the room, right? 3% of those people finish Tony's courses. 3%. Tony does not change the world from his courses. Tony changes the world from the other stuff he does, which we call programs. What's the difference? A course with skills, accountability, and mentorship. If you can add those things in. So the thing I like about Blueprinted was the skills, really easy to identify. What are the skills? Because of your methodology, right? Boom, 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 boom. Forget the fluff. I love how you say that, by the way. Forget the fluff. It's like, here's the thing, here's the thing, here's the thing. So you have to think it through. What are the actual measurable skills they need in order to be a good content provider on your platform? And the person going in it knows, okay, these are the 12 things. I got to get good at these 12 things. I can master this. Got it. Love it. Skills, accountability. There's lots of different ways for accountability out there. But generally speaking, as entrepreneurs, we suck when it comes to accountability, right? We're terrible at holding ourselves accountable, right? That's why the fitness industry has workout buddies and professional fitness trainers, right? I mean, most of us don't need a professional fitness trainer. We know, go show up, do the workout, come back. But without that accountability, we don't always show up, right? Yep. And so accountability, now I'm not talking about the 2% of entrepreneurs who do it regardless. I'm talking about the 98% of the rest of us, right? And then mentorship, such an important thing, right? Richard Branson, one of his favorite quotes when he's asked, what are the keys for new entrepreneurs? He said, fail faster. Well, that makes sense. You've been around the block, right, C-Roc? I know that makes sense. But to a new entrepreneur, I've seen that reaction when I've had a room of 1,000 entrepreneurs, and I'll say, how many people are new your first year or less? And, X number of hands will go up. Fail faster. They get freaked out by that. They think it's a terrible thing. Right. And the guy's a billionaire saying it's the best thing you can. Like something's out of alignment, right? Well, the difference is he's been there. He knows what he's talking about. He doesn't mean fail as in give up. He means throw it against the wall, see what works, see what doesn't, and then adjust and adapt. So he's actually not saying fail faster, but he's putting it in a way that makes you think about getting it out there, exposing yourself. If you're going to raise capital for your project, ask people, get some no's. When I tell people the fastest way to raise money, get 50 people to say no. Not 10 people to say yes. Get 50 people to say no, trying to raise money, and you will raise your money, because as you just adapt, your message gets better and it gets better and it gets better and it gets better, and you're talking to better people, and away you go, and suddenly you got the funds raised. All right.
Jeff,
so those are the three things that are, to me, are necessary for courses to have lasting impact. And so I love, like, Blueprinted. I thought the platform made a ton of sense. I think it makes sense. I'm sure we're going to work together as strategic partners on it, and then encourage people to build those other elements into it so they can truly guarantee results. And by the way, charge a lot more for the course. Yeah.
Like we gotta mentor them into doing the right thing. And then also we have the calendar integration, which is cool because that can be used as an accountability tool. But it's a tool. It's not. It's not an accountability. It's a tool, and the tool. Has to be used.
But those are helpful. Like as long as you're thinking, how do I build in skills? Right? How do I build in accountability? Accountability should be high tech and high touch. Mentorship, high tech and high touch. Right? So when we get a video from someone on the Project 10 team to inspire us or encourage us or whatever, that's a form of mentorship that's high tech. right? When on a call, Jared calls me or you out because we weren't doing something we're supposed to do. That's high touch, right? Like you need both. I think that's one of the challenges young entrepreneurs fall into. One of the traps they fall into today is they think it's all tech. I'll automate it all. I'll automate it all. Well, guess what? Your clients aren't automatons.
Right.
They're humans. Right. They need to know you care. They need to know you'll bleed for them, like whatever it takes. I meant to share this on the call this morning when we were doing our biz dev call, and I forgot to. I got an email from a software platform we joined a few months ago. And you may love this one on your side, Mike, as well, for your guys. It was a product improvement idea I submitted the first week I was in the platform. They emailed me a personal email letting me know it had been integrated in the system.
Wow.
Like that whole loop of good idea, we'll work on it, worked on it, it's out, and then tell Tom specifically, because he told us and asked for it.
Raving fan.
Oh my God, overnight. And it was a simple thing. They had an added event calendar on their platform, and you couldn't do the time the event ended. You could just do the start time.
Yeah.
It wasn't complicated, but it was like, I run 4-hour workshops, not 1-hour webinars. I want my clients to know it's 4 hours, right? And so they added it in. And I was like, I was so happy. I called up my business partner. I showed him the email and I was all jumping up and down. Well, that's creating raving fans, right? They took a complaint and turned me into a raving fan. By the way, as one of the closing thoughts for today, I learned this at McDonald's when I was an assistant manager early on. A customer that had a problem at McDonald's that we handled well spent on average 3 times as much money in the next year.
Yeah, wow.
As if one they never had a mistake.
Wow.
Think about that. 3 times as much money. Why? Because they're more loyal. Remember I said raving fans more loyal when you mess up.
Yep.
Right? So important.
Wow. Well, how can the audience reach you, Tom? I want to thank you for being here, but how can they reach you, engage with you further?
Easiest way is LinkedIn, last name Matzen, 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 depending on what part of the world you're in. There's only about 15 or 16 of us with that last name in all of LinkedIn, and only one Tom with thousands of connections. So you can find me easy.
All right, guys, go engage with Tom. Great guy. He is always willing to help if you care and you're looking to do some great things. And like you said, he's been involved with 91 businesses. Why not make it 100 some? So Tom, thank you so much for being here. Thanks, you to the audience for all of you coming back, watching, supporting, sharing. I can't thank you enough. You guys mean the world to me. Every time I talk about my podcast agency and all the shows that I've been on, I talk about how many shows I've had, and I cannot continue to do this without you. So I want to thank you. And until next time, be unstoppable.